Hello and welcome to the Unconventional Podcast with Grace Hardy. Today we have Stefan Barrett, who is the CEO of BMotion. So welcome.
Thank you for having me, Grace. I appreciate it.
Anytime. So you started your journey as an apprentice at 19 years old. How were you given that opportunity?
So basically, it was a friend of mine that was leaving a job, and she basically turned around and said, "There's a job opening, do you want it?" And I was like, absolutely. And before then, I went and did my A-levels, I did my business studies, and within that I did double business, which I enjoyed, but then there was an accounting element within that. And the accounting element was like, I just thrived off it and I loved it. I think I got like above 90% in it.
Congratulations.
So, I know, right? Because everything else was just distinctly average. So everything was average. But I found that like accounting was something that came natural to me. So I was like, you know what, this has come natural. I got like 90% plus. I'll give this a go. So then that's what made me look into the accounting world. And then a friend of mine, like I say, was leaving her job. So she then just said, do you want to work at this place? So I didn't even have an interview. It was like just a replace. It was great. This old firm that I used to work for, they were so old school. But it was great because I managed to learn the fundamentals of accounting.
So when you say old school, how old school are we talking?
Very old school. So they didn't have computers. And the one computer they had was never switched on. It was just never used.
Like this?
Like this one here, yeah. This is nostalgic. This just takes me back to my old days. There was a computer there, but it was just never switched on. And if it was once a week. No one really knew how to use it other than the person before me, but everything was pretty much the large cash books and the purchase ledgers, sales ledgers. So it was literally a calculator, a pen, and you would jot everything down and you'd add it up and then you go to the next page and you carry it forward. So yeah, but it was good though. So my old boss, when I started at that firm, he was in his 70s. So there was two partners, one in his 70s and one in his 80s. There was like a line manager, myself, and then the receptionist. So it was so small, but it was so good because it taught me the fundamentals of accounting and the core kind of values and the basic ways of learning that hold such great strengths when you're kind of going through your career in accounting, learning your debits and credits. And when we did payroll, what you do now is you just press a button in Sage. But what we did then is we had the NIC charts and the pay as you earn charts. So when you did your payroll, you worked out absolutely everything. And I think it's very important to learn the basics, obviously at the beginning, and to carry them basics through your learning journey. Because when you are pressing buttons in Sage or whatever software you're using, you want to know the underlying concept behind it. So that's what's important with how I obviously learned from the beginning, but then also how I then put that old kind of way of learning and the traditional way into the staff and the apprentices that I've got today. So I'm taking something from the 1950s, 1960s and putting it into 2024.
And so when you were at that olden day practice,
yes,
how did you transform them?
So obviously young, ambitious, and wanting to, learn as much as possible, as fast as possible. So I had obviously a young mindset in the respect of, being IT literate, there being a computer there, it not being used that often, and wanting to really kind of transform it and take as much as we can off the old ledgers and obviously onto a computer. Then using Sage 50, I think it was a Sage Accounts Production as well, from memory. It was just taking stuff from the ledgers and putting it into Excel. That was just transforming their practice. Obviously, at the beginning, I had very minimal knowledge. But I knew enough to be able to go, let's take that from there to there. And they loved it. They're obviously hesitant at times, but it was good. It was good for myself to progress, I say an IT perspective as well, but it was good to progress and learn the fundamentals of accounting. But it was great to be able to learn off such old school accountants in the 70s and 80s and kind of take that and add the
modern day spin on it.
Exactly that, yeah.
And then fast forward, you opened BMotion.
Yes.
And so how did you start that? You started it with a credit card.
To cut a very long story short, I started a new job and I didn't like it. I was there one day. I just literally went back to I was living at my mum's at the time. I went back to my mum's and I said, can't do this. I can't do it.
What was so terrible about it?
Because I love to be creative. So I have other businesses on the side. I always have to have other businesses on the side, like little side hustles. And because I wasn't allowed to use my phone in work time, I instantly knew like I was under control and I was like, I couldn't really express myself because just because I wanted to use my phone during the day didn't mean I didn't work as hard as everyone else. It was that I wanted to use my phone during the day because I had a cafe at the same time, which had staff. So I needed to be, contact with with the cafe if there's anything went wrong or anything like that. I ultimately knew that wasn't for me. And I always knew that I wanted to work for myself as well. But it was just taking that jump. But fortunately enough for me, it's like the jump was made for me, because I was like, I've got nowhere else to go now. So I need to either go back to employment, which obviously then I didn't have a job, or just actually bite the bullet and just go fully self-employed. And that's what I did. So the next day I woke up about 8 o'clock in the morning, nothing crazy. I'm not a 5 a.m. club. Never have been, never will. So I woke up at 8 a.m. and literally just opened my laptop. And I was like, today is the day we start B-Motion. And my mum was like, you're crazy. And I was like, I know. So I said, can I borrow your garage? Because it was like a converted garage. So I said, can I borrow your garage? And I'm just going to start myself up. I haven't got any money. I had the laptop. I had a keyboard with a laptop. I had a mouse.
All the essentials. I went and bought a monitor, a printer on my credit card, and any other bits and bats that I needed. Then I obviously maxed out my credit card. I didn't have much of a limit on it. But then my girlfriend at the time was like, obviously supportive. And she said, well, you need some business cards. So I said, well, I can't afford business cards. Like, I've got my essentials. In my head, business cards were a luxury. Yeah.
Given the financial kind of aspect of, the financial situation I was in. So she was like, well, I'll help you out and I'll get them for you. So I was like, oh my God, I appreciate that. It was £80, but it was £80 I didn't have at the time.
Yeah.
So it was just one of them.
That's so sweet.
It's crazy to think back, that when you first start out, but I always started out with a purpose, and it was never to make money. I mean, tell a lie, I had a break even.
Yeah.
And my break even in my head was £50 a day.
Yeah.
And that £50 a day was for me to be able to support myself, because I was still living at home. So it was like, as long as I can earn £50 a day, I can feed myself. I could, have a basic life.
Yeah.
And obviously then pay my mum board. So, and from the day that I started B-Motion with a target of £50 a day, that's not changed to this day.
And so what is your purpose with B-Motion?
There's many kind of purposes. There's self-purpose. So what gets me up in the morning? And for me personally, I like to be creative. So enable for me to go into other areas of the group, because we've got loads of subsidiaries, all doing different things, whether it's cryptocurrency, whether it's this new clothing range that we've got going on, whether it's, I've had a time in my life where I built a house, and then I had the cafe. So I'm always looking for different things to do at the same time as running, obviously, the B-Motion, the actual firm, because everything's called B-Motion, all the subsidiaries are all called B-Motion, and then something else after it. Don't know why. So for me, the purpose is to be creative, but also you can be creative in the accounting world as well, what I found, whether it's through the creativity of growing things and being able to create processes, systems, and the Excel spreadsheets that we've got, that all been created from just a blank page.
Which are beautiful.
Yeah, beautiful. I do love
Stunning.
You can...
I started my career studying for the AAT qualification whilst working as an apprentice in accounting. Not only do I have a recognised qualification on my CV, it's given me the skills and experience to progress and start my own accounting firm at just 21, all whilst avoiding university debt. So, whether you're a school leaver or you've already started working, it could be a great opportunity for you to build an exciting career in finance. There are opportunities in virtually every industry, from accountancy practices such as KPMG to companies such as Network Rail and Microsoft, and even the NHS. There is no limit to your potential. Find out more about accounting apprenticeships at aat.org.uk/unconventional.
Create these models of, it's quite geeky, but, these crazy models to be able to then hand down with process notes for other people to use. And creating this, we've got it's called the B-Motion conveyor belt. So the client goes onto this conveyor belt, and all this work that gets done all gets done by the same flow, which enables more efficiencies. And then more efficiencies means that your margins go up. And then if your margins go up, people get paid more. And then staff get paid more. I get paid more. I can then take that and put it into other projects. To be honest, the purpose is fun. To be able to, explore new avenues and create new things and look at new tech. But then there's like a purpose of giving back. So I'm from a working class background. So I feel like I'd like to give back to all classes, obviously. But my heart is very much like giving a chance to other people that wouldn't necessarily have the best of upbringings or a struggle, which is good for me. So we have like this work experience program where anyone in the UK can come for a week's work experience. We are pretty much booked all year round.
Yeah.
So you don't need a CV. You don't need anything. You just want to be here. You come here. We'll put you on an AML course straight away, and we'll give you some work, and we'll give you examples and training, and that's part and parcel of kind of giving back. But the good thing is there with them kind of work experience, the program that we do, is that we always find a bit of a gem every now and then as well.
Yeah.
So, and that also works. So we're kind of giving back by letting anyone come in to be and do some work experience. And then when we find a gem that's really good, we basically go, would you like a job? You're really good. If you want a job, do you want a job? Great, come on board.
But I think also that's so important, because when a lot of young people are trying to find work experience, there are so many barriers to entry, which is amazing that you've got rid of them.
We found that. I was speaking to George last week about that, and there's so many barriers for any generation, but especially the young generation. And I believe there's these large corporate firms that have these like regimes in place, or these not regimes, what they call
They have a lot of tests.
Yes, they do.
They do have a lot of tests.
They do have a lot of tests, but it's more like the work experience programs that they have in place. They have them in place, but they're not bespoke.
Yeah.
So they're like, go on this course for a week, and it's like an automated online course. Mm-hmm. That's not work experience.
Yeah.
That's literally just being given something that is fictitious. So we like to give people that come in real world work, real world examples. Like, come into the office, see the vibes, feel the vibes. Do the brew run.
Join TikTok.
Yeah, do a TikTok. Just get involved and see what the working environment's like.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's great about what we do and the purpose of why we're here. One of many.
And so going back to the start, I obviously found my clients through social media. You used Google Maps. So
Yes.
do you want to tell us a bit about that?
Yeah. So obviously, go back to day one, and I was like, how do I grow a business when in my head, or the perception is that everyone has an accountant?
Yeah.
So you kind of think, am I in a saturated market? So with that in mind, I was thinking, well, how can I kind of get some exposure? I'm just me. I've got loads of time.
I'm just a guy.
I'm just a guy. I'm just a guy finding my own way. So no, I kind of sat down and thought, well, what can I do? I've got no money to market. Like, I can't do anything. I'm not the most creative when it comes to going on like Photoshop and creating something and posting it online. I don't even think B-Motion was on social media until a good couple of years. I joined social media. I just registered it, put a pretty little picture of a bee, and just left it. So yeah, I think our social media really kicked off we're coming up to year 10, and I'd probably say year 7, 6 or 7. So yeah, so we're like the opposite.
Yeah.
Like, you're like really all over your social media, your branding. I was just like, I just need to pay my bills. Do you know what I mean? That can come later. But I didn't think it would be 7 years later. So yeah, I kind of did it the wrong way around, but it's still
But I don't think there's a wrong and a right way. I just think it's what works for you. But clearly getting in your car and going on Google Maps works for you. Yeah,
there's the 2 ways. So I was sat, obviously, there's 3 ways actually. I sat on my computer and went onto Google Maps and was like, right, well, these are all the businesses that are obviously in Google. So I was like, well, I need to visually see them and see where they are. So I was like, why don't I just go on the Google Maps? So go on the Google Maps, zoom in into Stockport, and just pick all the small businesses and ring them. And that's what I did. I literally would just cold call them. Bearing in mind, I'm not in sales, not from sales, been an accountant since day dot. Cold calling people was like scary, and still is.
I don't do it because it scares me.
Yeah, it scared me at the time, but I was like, well, I've got no other option because I've got bills to pay. So it's either kind of back down and fail on day one because I won't do it, or force myself to do it. So I was like, let's just go for it. What's the worst that can happen? Put the phone down on me and say no. Oh well. So that was number 1. Number 2 was if I was driving past shops or I was walking past shops and and you'd see like obviously all small shops.
Yeah.
You know the difference between a WH Smith that you're never gonna get. I think they've gone bump now anyway. But like, have they gone bump?
What? No, I see them in airports all the time.
Oh, really? Well, WH Smith, you're not going to ring them and be like, do you need an accountant? So it was always like the small bespoke shops, family run shops. So I'd ring them and just be like, hey, like,
do you need me?
Do you need me?
Because I'm available.
It was obviously a bit more formal than, hey, how you doing? Do you need an accountant? So it was a bit of a spiel that I kind of like at first was a bit kind of basic. Mm-hmm. And then over time, built it up and kind of perfected it. Still kept getting rejected. But no, every 1 in 10 would be like, yeah, you know what, let's go and have a sit down.
Yeah.
Then I knew that then if I ever sit down with them, I was like, I could explain about where I've come from and what I've done. Being in practice and then going to industry, having the commercial spin from learning from the industry. So yeah, and then the third one, so I'd drive past a shop and then I'd just ring them.
Yeah.
Obviously, I would stop at the side of the road. I would make sure that I'd turn the car off, pull the key out, make sure I'm super safe, check the blind spots, then I'd call. And then the third one would be Facebook messages. So I'd go on Facebook. They will still all be on my Facebook because I've so many messages from like 2014, 15, 16 maybe. And what I do is I go into the search box. What I remembered back in the day is that a lot of personal trainers would have PT as their middle name.
Yeah.
Like,
they love to shout about it.
Yeah, I don't know if they still do it anymore.
Yeah, they do.
Do they still do it?
Yeah.
So they had PT. So I was like, well, this is brilliant. I'm just going to put PT in the search box, click on search, and just message every single PT that exists around Stockport and Manchester. And we still have many PTs to this day that are still clients. So I just inbox all of them, and then I'd probably get a response, probably say 2 out of 10 that would reply back.
That's amazing.
But it was good as well. So the little extra spin that I had with obviously starting B Motion is that the cafe that I was talking about before, I used to meet them in the cafe and give them free breakfast. So they'd come in for a client meeting.
Everyone loves free food.
Everyone loves a freebie. So I'd literally get them to the cafe. I'd be like, would you like a breakfast on the house? So then we talk about accounts. And then it was that kind of, that extra little bit that I gave them, but they also thought, well, this guy is actually trying. And, obviously I'd had the cafe. Cafe was great. I ended up selling it at a later date just because I was spinning far too many plates. It was crazy.
And so you've grown your client base to 450 clients now. How have you done that? What is the secret behind your massive growth?
A big thing to grow in a client base, obviously I started with like a handful of friends that then obviously transitioned into clients. But I think there's certain things at certain times that you learn along the way that enables you to really fine tune your business. So like going back 9 years, and I was like, right, with the knowledge that I have now, going back 9 years ago, I think it would have been a different experience. But you have to go through the adversities. You have to learn, to be able to then, because someone could tell you how to do it without you going through it. You'll never really understand it to change it. So the first one for me is, we call them in the accounting world pitters. So pain in the asses. So at first, you'll just accept anyone and be like, if I can do a job for you, great. Obviously go through all the due diligence and stuff like that. But what I'd find is that there was quite a lot of pitters, pain in the asses. But I think over time, there's the education as well to the client, and not the education, but the setting the expectation.
Yeah.
So at the beginning, it was very much, I'll do anything for you. I'll do your tax return. Yeah, it would be XXX.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's very much like, you come on board. This is the proposal. This is our expectations from you. And this is what, we can do for you. And if you kind of go outside of this expectation, then unfortunately we'll have to disengage. So I was never like that. I was like thinking everyone was like me. And everyone would be proactive and everyone would want to grow in their business and people would want to do right. But you can find that people, can fall into, bad times when it comes to finances, and then they can go missing and they don't get back to you, or they just take ages with your information. They become a bit of a pain to the business, which then can create scope creep. And then you've got the scope creep issue of working for, doing tax returns and getting paid, a couple of pound an hour, because it's happened in the past for me. I've done tax returns at losses many, many times. So making sure that you've got the right client, and then this feeds on to my next one about pitters being the negative, but educating them to see if they can be turned around, if not disengaged. But then you've got the right client. And what we find is with the right client, they're proactive, they want to do well, they pay on time. And because B Motion has never spent any money on marketing, I feel like a great way in which B Motion has grown is because the right clients have come on board.
Yeah.
And then they've also got friends in their social circle that are the right client as well. And when they recommend by referral, because we've only had new clients, and the growth of B from 1 to 450 has solely been from referrals. So if you've got the right client there,
then you create a nice client culture.
Exactly. It's very important. But if you've got a handful of pitters and they're recommending pitters and pitters and pitters and pitters, all of a sudden your client base is full of pitters and you're not making any money.
Yeah.
And making money isn't the be all and end all. It's got to be worth the value, that the time that you're putting into the business. because otherwise you could struggle to make money, still make a bit of money, but then you're tied down to that job so much because it takes hold of you because you've got too many pitters to be able to like maintain.
And so you're a Sage only practice.
Yes.
And so how has Sage software helped your business?
Sage has been incredible for us. So when I first started John H. Nixon & Co, we're 19, they, like I say, we use Sage 50. So the first interaction with accounting was Sage. So it's always had my heart from
day one.
From day dot to today and into the future. And I feel like Sage has helped in different ways. The software, first of all, that the way they went into the cloud, and then the way they then introduced Proposal by Sage. And I feel like they've always had our backs in the respect of, you know, if there's any issues, they easily get rectified, and, you know, they're always on hand, and they've got a vision for the future, which I have as well. And I feel like they run in parallel with BeMotion's like vision of where the future will go. Forgetting about AI, but it's more about that Sage look after accountants, as well as they look, because obviously Sage will sell to the business owner, just like any other software. But Sage, for me, will sell to the business owner, also sell to the accountants, but have the accountants on the forefront of their minds to be able to expand, you know, all the practices that wrapped up within Sage. That's why I solely went for Sage only.
Are you running a business? Meet your new best friend, Sage Accounting Individual. Whether you're testing an idea, managing a side hustle, or running a full-time sole trader business, Sage makes digital record keeping a breeze. You can connect your bank, categorize transactions, and create professional invoices in seconds, and send them to your client in a click. Understand your profits, track who owes you money, and get your taxes sorted all from your phone or computer. Need a helping hand? Get instant support from our Sage specialists via web chat, or connect with an expert accountant like me for expert business advice. With Sage, you can focus on what matters, growing your business, while Sage Accounting Individual handles transactions and taxes. It's the perfect partnership to unleash your business potential. Join over 1.2 million businesses already using Sage. You can start today for free by going to sage.com/UK/Sage-individual and unleash your business potential today.
Another reason why we went Sage only, we just made it more clean cut. It was like, this is what we can be a master in. And we don't know about any other softwares, that, you know, bookkeeping softwares, because we'd rather become a master of one than average at the rest at trying to manage all of them. And a big turning point as well was when we took on Go Proposal.
So for people that are watching that don't know what Go Proposal is, how would you explain it?
So Go Proposal is basically a cloud software that enables accountants to charge by transactions or value-based billing. But it's good because they also have all the kind of legalities behind it. So we have something in the accounting world called a letter of engagement. And what you can do is you can hand select the services that you require, and then the letter of engagement goes behind it. And then you can send it to the client, and it looks great. It's really nice and easy to use. For us accountants, we don't want to get stuck with the administration burden. BeMotion did with that is we took that idea, but we kind of added a spin on it. And the spin is that scope creep in the accounting world is quite a big thing to try and reduce, and it still exists all over the UK. We tried to mitigate it as much as possible in BeMotion, and by doing so, what we did is we said, we're not going to charge you based on subscription-based billing, which is what a lot of accountants do. So they moved away from hourly. They've gone on to subscription-based billing, which is by transactions. But we were like, we want to do it by real time. So when the client will use the card to pay for stuff, we then charge. So when a client has a really busy period, their work goes up because they're obviously busier, whether it's over Christmas, summer, their work will go up, and then we can have our resources as well go in line with their work. We then charge by transaction, so we're charging in real time. So I can then move the resources within BeMotion to support and flex the client and move it back if I need to. So if the client has a quiet period, we just bring it back, charge less. Bring it forward, obviously charge more. And that's mitigated scope creep, because what you don't want is for a client to come in to BeMotion and say, yeah, I think we're about 500 transactions a month. And then all of a sudden it's 5,000. And then you're committed to that. But then you don't see that straight away. So what can happen is, after the VAT returns surpassed, you'll have to retrospectively go back and invoice the client. And that doesn't help when you've committed to one fee and then 3 months later you're having to go back and charge more. So the transparency for BMotion to the client is very important to us.
And so how do you track that? Do you use timesheets?
We do use timesheets. So we don't track the transactional billing via timesheets, but we certainly use the timesheets as a benchmark against the
evidence
transactions.
as well. If the client turns around and goes, this is a lot of money.
Exactly that, yeah. What we found as well, which is quite interesting, is that when we used to charge by hourly, because that's the nature of the beast. It's, back in 2015, I just basically said, I'll just charge hourly. I need my £50 a day.
Yeah.
So I just need X amount per hour. And then obviously George came on board, and then again, we were charging by hourly, then obviously scaled up more. We just, in 2020 is when we changed from hourly to transactional billing, but real-time transactional billing and value-based billing. So generally speaking, the transactions are for the stuff that happens basically through the period, and then the value-based billing is the compliance at the end of the year.
Amazing.
So,
I love that. It's unique and different.
It is different. I don't know any other firm doing it. It'd be interesting to know if anyone does do the same as us. The good thing is as well is you just don't want to be going back to the client and saying, here's another bill for yesterday.
Yeah.
It's like, here's a bill for what's happened in real time.
Yeah.
So if you go quiet, we'll drop the resources for you. So at least then the client has they can have the ease to go, well, I've not got that fixed cost going out for the accountant, irrespective of how busy or quiet I am. It's like the accountant's working with me. So if I'm busy, great. I don't care because I'm busy and my margins are higher. So of course my accountant's going to do more work.
Yeah.
But if I'm quiet, I can relax knowing that the accountant's not going to charge me this fixed fee. So it does work really well for us.
Amazing. And all of your employees have gone through apprenticeships just like you have.
Yes.
What was the decision to go through apprenticeships instead of taking graduates from universities?
Because I did the AAT myself, and I've managed to obviously take so much from it and then use that in the real world. I felt like I needed to give that back, to other entry levels. And I think it's important to have your fundamentals there to be able to use in the real world. So like if I did take someone on that had just left university, I'd only ask them to go back through the AAT because they'd need to learn it to understand the basics. It's like me when I first started doing my AAT. I was fortunate enough to learn off, obviously, these chartered accountants that were in the 70s and 80s. Like that was just gold dust at the time to be able to learn off someone with so much experience. So I feel like it is very important to have your base there, get your qualification, and then obviously you can move on to any other qualification or even stay at the AAT. I'm AAT and I've stayed at the AAT. Do I want to do my ACA or ACCA? No. I'm happy and content with where I'm at.
And also George Moss is AAT as well.
He is, yeah. So George passed his AAT. So George, our practice manager, absolutely smashing it. He's been with us 7 years, which is incredible.
Did you get him a cake?
I can't remember what I got him. I think I bought him a Mont Blanc pen. But yeah, pretty spenny, but he was worth it.
Good to know that you value your employees.
Yeah, and not just financially, non-financially as well. It's important to make sure that your staff are happy and the culture is right. And the culture isn't dictated by the person that's at the top. The culture is dictated by everyone.
Yeah.
The culture isn't just about the staff and internal, it's certainly external. So when clients come into the office, like what culture do they bring in? How do they come across? How do we come across, to the clients? And what's the rapport like? Do you know what I mean? Are we these accountants that's very straight-laced and upright and we're very well spoken? No, we're not. I'm working class. We're just down-to-earth accountants that use tech, that love what we do, that want to add value to our clients' businesses at the end of the day.
And they love that.
They love it. I mean, they laugh at me for going in the ice bath every day. They're like, what are you doing? Why would you do this? Yeah, and like I say, the guys, not everyone wants to go in the ice baths, but we go in the ice bath. We've got group PT sessions. We just have a good time in the office. We do these crazy TikToks. They get millions of views. And we're just like, have you seen the newest TikTok? We're at like 4 million. It's like, that's crazy. Do we do another one? And then the other one, we get like 300 views. And you're like...
And you've gone, I've wasted all of that time on that TikTok and it's done terribly.
There's been many a times where I think the TikTok that we did that got like nearly 5 million views took, I think it was about 10, 15 minutes.
It's always those ones.
Yeah. And then the ones that we've spent like hours on, I even did a TikTok where George fell forward instead of backwards. It was the trust thing.
Yeah.
I literally got the van off Callum, went to the gymnastics centre, borrowed a mat, took it back to B, then got everyone in the office. Then we did this rehearsal. Obviously, he fell forward, he fell onto this mat. Meg then spent, an hour and a half putting it all together. Then I went and took the mat home, back to the gymnastics.
How many views did it get?
This is going to be insane. I don't even know, to be honest. Something like, must be less than 5K. But it just took ages. But that's the fun of it. It was fun doing it.
It is. And also, I think it like really brings people together.
Yes.
And I think it's so much fun to do together. It's such a nice, like, not bonding experience, but a nice culture thing to do with all your employees. To just get involved.
And the thing is as well with the TikToks, because obviously Meg would run this and head up the TikToks. It's everyone's input, so everyone gets to be creative.
Yeah.
And I love that. Like, Shez is ridiculous at just with the wording of everything. So she'll look at a video that's like 2 minutes long, and it's like really hard to, kind of like follow the wording, like this jokey thing and saying this, that, and that. She just gets it in one.
Really?
I can't do it.
I can't do it.
I'm there like stuttering for ages, and she just goes, and she's really good at it. So we're like, Shez, that one's got your name on it. You do that one. Do you know what I mean? It's good fun at the end of the day.
It is. And you won a PQ award for it.
We did. I know. I was shocked. Absolutely shocked, because it's the first award we've won.
Amazing. First of many.
I know, right? We only started entering awards a couple of years ago, just because, again, with just the way that I am, I kind of stay in my own lane.
Yeah.
I don't really, not in a negative way, I don't really care what anyone else is doing. Don't get me wrong. I want, everyone else to succeed around me. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm only interested in what I'm doing, and making sure that I'm happy at what I'm doing. Because if you start looking out and you start benchmarking, and you can sometimes feel a little bit like, am I doing the right thing? Why am I not doing that? Why am I not doing this? How are they doing that? I feel like contentment is when you're doing your own thing and you're enjoying what you're doing. Your business is growing, and as long as kind of like you're ticking all the right boxes, then for me, that's what running a business is.
Those lovely letters after my name, MAAT. That's an internationally recognised professional status in accounting and finance. It tells employers and clients that I've reached a high standard of education and experience. It's not just the designatory letters. AAT full membership brings a whole host of benefits, including free support helplines, CPD resources, and access to exclusive rewards. If, like me, you want to be your own boss, there's also the option to become an AAT licensed member and get tailored support to help you run your own accounting business or bookkeeping business. Find out more about different AAT membership options at aat.org.uk/unconventional. I would so agree with you, because I found myself comparing myself to other people. And then I was like, actually, if I just focus on myself and what I'm doing, then I'll do so much better, because I won't be worrying about anything else. Yeah. And I think that's when all the fun opportunities that I love doing started coming, because I was so less focused on everyone else.
Yeah.
But looking back retrospectively, if someone came to you and asked a piece of advice, what would you give them?
I would say start off slow. I'd say make it organic. Mm-hmm. Don't force anything. And it's important to live in the moment. I've lived for periods of time when I've constantly looked in the future, because I'm like, until I get to that. When I had the cafe, I was like, can't wait till that gets to that. Then when I started B-Motion, I was like, I need to get to this many clients. And then when I was building the house, I was like, which was another side venture on top of the cafe, it was like, this is why it just got too much. I was like, I need to sell the cafe. I was like, I can't wait till the house is done.
Yeah.
Then it was on the cryptocurrency. And then it was then obviously always thinking ahead. And I think what's important is just, if you enjoy the process, you'll actually enjoy when times get tough, because you'll be living in the moment and think, well, I'm doing this for a purpose. And I think it's very important. If you are starting your own business, I feel like if you do it for just a monetary value only, you will find it hard that when you get to hard times, you'll just pack it in, because you've got no real motivator to get you through.
Yeah.
There's been many a time I've been up in 2, 3, 4 in the morning, working away,
we've all been there,
thinking to myself, why am I doing this? But then you think to yourself, but I love it, and I'm growing my business and I'm making progress, and I kind of get like a dopamine fix from it. Mm-hmm. In a weird way. For example, when I went to Lisbon last weekend, I went away for 4 days. I got onto, I think it was day 3, and I was like, try to do a couple of hours admin. Just a couple of hours. So I opened my iPad. I was just working away. I think it was about 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
And I had this dopamine fix of just getting a load of stuff sorted and, You know,
it's good though, especially when you can tick those things off your to-do list.
exactly. But I think it was more just to kind of touch base and get things sorted and get things moving along, you know, because there's so much that can get held with you in the respect of, you know, just approving things and stuff like that. It was like, right, well, send that. And it was like, close the iPad at the end and I was like, right, I'm ready to go out into the city now because I've got my dopamine fix. So no, it was good. It's good. And that's what's good about running a business. You can, you know, work so hard to be able to then have the business be self-sustained and then just dip in and out whenever you want.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I say, there's been tough times in the past, extremely tough times. Probably one of the toughest times was when we became too busy.
Yeah.
We didn't have the right staff. We had some of the right staff, but we also didn't have at some point we didn't have enough staff. We became too busy, and that was catastrophic for B-Motion.
In what way?
In the way that our proactiveness took a complete downturn. The quality of the work was still just as good, but because we always have the quality of the work to be as high as possible, things just took time because there wasn't enough of us and there was too many clients. So then we found is that some clients were getting annoyed because we weren't the B-Motion that they knew. So we lost probably, I don't know, it was a small handful of clients. And I took that on board and I was like, we can't get too busy again.
Yeah.
So we closed our books for a year. I took that step back and thought, what's important here? What are we chasing? Are we chasing new clients? What about the current clients? The current clients are more important than the new ones.
Yeah.
So we said, let's close the books for a year, take the current clients, let's add value to them. Let's constantly add value to make sure that we retain them all and they're all happy. And, you know, making sure that we aren't just accountants, but we're like business partners. So we're like side by side to them and so integrated with the client, you know, through the likes of, you know, using Sage, Go Proposal, Fruitily, and using technology to our advantage, and then being able to, again, using the technology, like, you know, obviously the Sage and the Go Proposal and the likes of, really reducing our time down and then putting them resources that we've saved back into the client's value.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
You're very welcome.
It's been a
Thanks for having
pleasure.
me.